It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future. It looks like Russia is building a shadow fleet of tankers to avoid oil restrictions. Why should we care about that, Matt?
We talked earlier this year about potential methods to target oil revenues out of Russia. And my my thoughts then and now was that it wouldn't work. So it might provide temporary benefits. It's like someone came up with this clever idea and it really doesn't do anything, but it looks like people are trying. The practicality is you can cut them off from your markets, but you can't cut them off from others. I think like the big thing with this is the insurance ban going into effect. I think 80 to 90% of the world's oil tankers get insurance out of London to assure their cargoes from pirates or environmental disasters and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think most buyers would actually purchase a cargo without a clear insurance policy on it. So it's just a really interesting situation because they essentially, with SWIFT, the financial system earlier, they essentially have to move off to another system and to sidestep basically the US financial system and then also get around the insurance stuff. Europe implemented this earlier in the year, and now it's time that it's going to hit. And I think, frankly, a lot of them are freaking out about it, what the effects are going to be. On the other side, Russia has really taken a lot of steps to essentially build a parallel system, their own transport system that allows them to still get there. Some pretty interesting stuff. Bloomberg and Financial Times and Reuters all had interesting articles on this. Sergei Lavrov, who people know a lot because he was the key spokesperson throughout all the Russia-Trump conspiracy stuff. He's basically telling the global politicians in the West that these are illegal and we don't give a crap. We're going to find our own way to get our stuff to market. Russia has decided that people that comply to this are going to be cut off from their hydrocarbons and I assume minerals too in long term. Russia in the background is having these discussion with key buyers, like a lot of the ones that have picked up the lower price crude recently, China, India, a lot of the Asian countries. They're buying any tankers that they can. Tankers have shot up, especially some of these really old tankers that are near scrap.
Right.
They're worth tons of money. Financial Times and Reuters did some pretty good breakdowns. Russia basically needs to boost its fleet by 157 Aframax, 65 Suezmax, and 18 very large crude carrier vessels. So, and they have an aging fleet. They've already bought 49 of the 157 Aframax. Those carry 700,000 barrels apiece. They've bought 31 of the 65 Suezmax that they need. And they've bought 29 VLCCs. Those are 2 million barrels apiece. So they've really focused on buying large capacity. The Reuters article was from a month ago that said that they needed to boost their fleet by this much. It was really good analysis. Financial Times article analyzed satellite and also deals. They've bought another, 11 VLCCs than they planned in this Reuters article. So that's another 22 million barrels of crude that they can be carrying in these VLCCs. They're really focusing their infrastructure buys for their ships in large capacity, thinking about their focus going forward about how they're going to bring their crude to market. The 2 million barrel a piece ships you're selling by the ship, they're going to be really focused on developing relationships with those large key buyers. So India, China, Saudi Arabia, UAE, that funnel a lot of crude through their own country, where they can buy the Russian crude and basically replace their own supplies and send their own domestic supplies out to the world market. This is really what I talked about when we talked about this months ago. Why it wouldn't work is because there's stuff that they can buy that's out there in the market right now. It may be a 1989 Honda Accord, but it's still going to get you from here to there.
Right.
And it may not be pretty, but Russia over time is going to get their market, pushing Russia and these other countries onto a new parallel system, like with SWIFT too. I'm not very happy with the results on this, but it seems like this whole thing over a long period of time has been just throwing stuff at the wall. And when we're talking about global trade flows and keeping the economy going, I think that at times is a very irresponsible way of approaching this, a very immature way of approaching geopolitics and foreign policy. The fact of the matter, this isn't a company, this is a country. They can print their own money. Their central bank has previously said that they'll provide financial support for their domestic oil and gas and mineral industries. One of the big things that I expect to happen, and I'll probably talk about this in the trends thing, is that 2023 and beyond, the Russian central bank will start to open up financial facilities, which will provide funding for essentially Russian state-backed and also private companies to essentially rebuild this alternative hydrocarbon infrastructure on the back end. That financing will probably also receive money from these very solvent large key buyers that have been really pumping up their crude purchases in recent years. And the BRIC alliance, built around incorporating this cheaper Russian crude, what you're really doing is you're basically pushing down the price for Russia. You're benefiting all these other countries that, like China, that you supposedly are competing. I don't necessarily believe that's a good approach for U.S. foreign policy to try to be economically going after China. But there's been a lot of these motions, I think, in the last year and a half that in the end don't really hurt Russia as bad as they hurt the West. And when you progressively go down this, the only answer for getting to the result that they want to do is bleed out Russia at the expense of everybody else, or realize that what you're doing isn't working and eventually going to war with them. It's 2023, I expect there to be a lot of fireworks and a lot of these movements like this, where you have large countries coming together and being like, US isn't a reliable partner here, or this isn't a reliable situation for where we want to go in a country, or US maybe requiring us to have human rights in this situation and we don't want to do that. The whole world is getting recarved up. I feel those World War II alliances that are breaking down and reestablishing based on a lot of these economic and trade relationships. What I see is the divergence of fundamental trade, people that work and associate with people because they need each other at a fundamental level, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then you have what I feel is really on the Western side is that we're trying to push too hard in areas that, although they're well-intentioned and come from a good place, have the opportunity that they're essentially going to They drive people away from us and into the hands of people that want to force you to essentially lower the quality of life of your citizens for this ideological thing.
If you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewnextpodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.